Hi there guys, in this video we're going to be taking a look at the Type 10 Defender. Now this came out just before Christmas and unfortunately meant I didn't get around to posting a video on it. Normally when these ships come out we get a beta and it allows us to test them and to experiment them. Unfortunately this was just released into the game, so it didn't really give much time for testing, so I apologise why it's a little bit slow. Anyway, so the Type 10 Defender is around about 120 million. This is at Founders Well, so we do get a discount roughly about 10%. We can use multi-crew on. It has a top speed of 179 with a boost of 219. The manoeuvrability is on 0. The main feature of this ship, however, is its armour based on 1044. It does have a kind of weak shield at 99 units. The other thing is, well, that this is quite a heavy ship at 1,200 tons. I will look into all the various optional and internal hardpoints and such in a minute, but the main thing I just want to show you is just an overall statistics at this time. The next thing I want to show is a look at the cockpit. So here you can see it looks pretty much the same as a Type 9. Unfortunately that's a little bit disappointing, as I like to see different cockpits because they do give a different feel to the ship, but I guess as the Type 10 is based on the Type 9, I guess that's why they've gone for this. So anyway, I think the next thing to do is to have a look at the outfitting section and to see what you can equip in this ship. So we're in the outfitting section and I just want to run through what the ship's got in a bit more detail. So the first point I will look at is the hard points. So here you can see we have 3 medium hard points. I will show you where all the hard points are later in the video. So we've got 3 of those. We next have 4 class 3 or large hard points. So there are quite a few hard points for a kind of Type 9 strike variant ship. And finally we have 2 more class 1 or small hardpoints. These are actually to the left and right of the cockpit, and again I will show you where all those are later. So onto our utility mounts. This is where we put our kill warrant scanners, shield boosters, etc. We have 8 of those. Right, onto the internals or the core internals. So here we have got our various important sections. So here I've put in a military grade composite bulkhead, and some of the ship is actually modified. So here you can just see the sort of prices of what you expect, and bear in mind, like I said, this is with a discounted price, so these are pretty expensive. Right, onto the reactor, we have a class 8, and again, like I said, this is modified. I do think this needs actually removing and putting something a bit better. Power could be a little bit of an issue without modifications. Next we have thrusters, which are class 7. Again, I have modified these, and I will show later on an unmodified version. Here we have an upgraded frameshift drive of a class 7, giving us a bit more range than a Type 9. Again, like I said, I have modified that, and without the modifications you're looking around about 16 light years. After modifications, it depends what you want, about 34. So life support, we have a class 5, which is something that's not too expensive. Next, onto our power coupler. Now this is something that I could see being a bit bigger. This is a little bit of a downside even after the modifications. Sorry about that. There doesn't seem to be quite enough power, but it depends, I guess, what weapons you fit. And then onto the sensors, which are class 4. And then finally we have a fuel tank of class 6. So this gives you a fair amount of fuel, but bear in mind this is a pretty heavy ship. So now up to the optional internals. We have a class 8, which is for anything you like, a class 7, a class 6, 1 class 5, 2 class 4s, which you can see I put in a SRV, 2 class 3s, a class 2, and finally 2 class 5 military internal compartments. Military military internals are only allow you to put in hull reinforcements, or modular reinforcements, or shell banks, so you can put 2 lots of those. I think that's it for the actual internals. What I might just do is show you a couple of builds that you might typically use the ship. For combat, like I said, that is entirely up to you, and that's something I'm not going to feature. So the first one I'm going to look at is this ship for exploration. Okay, so this time we're going to have a look at an exploration build. This just gives you an idea what to expect. It's not fully featured. Anyway, so for an exploration you don't usually need any hard points, so you can remove all of those. There's usually just add extra weight to the ship, and for exploration you're kind of looking to get the ship as light as possible. For utilities, like I said, this is, you can put whatever you like in here. I've basically kept it quite bare. For the core internals, I've changed the bulkhead to light head. I've got the reactor down to class 5 just to provide enough power. Thrusters, you kind of have to get around 6D or so, as they have to be a certain size because the ship is pretty heavy. This is on a modified jump drive, and like I said, this is best case scenario. You can probably get a little bit higher jump range. At the moment I'm around about 35 light years. After modifying all the other systems you might be able to get a little bit more, but I wanted to show you the best case scenario. So for life support I put 5D in. For power coupler I've put the smallest in. This won't allow you to boost, but like I said, this is just purely to get the weight off. The sensors I've gone for 4D, and the fuel tank I've left alone as the ship will require quite a lot of fuel. In the optional internals I put a fuel scoop of for some reason a 7B in the 8 slot. I think I might just change that to a class 8B. Bear in mind fuel scoops can get pretty expensive, so like I said, the class 8 there is at 235 million, so you're better off getting something like a class 8B or something. But like I said, this is a bare build. I would advise sticking a shield on an exploration ship, because if you have SRVs you might be trying to land on planets, and having the shield will just protect you. I did find that you need to put a class 6 shield by the looks of things because of the size of the ship. Again, this has been modified, but this doesn't really impact the exploration build as such, and I've left quite a lot blank in case you want to fill stuff in. Obviously the most important two are the detailed surface scanner and the discovery scanner, and also I've stuck in a docking computer just to make it easier. So there is potentially there quite a bit of space for exploration. You're around about 35 light years, which is just about enough to do exploration. However, this ship is pretty heavy, so I guess it is potentially possible, but there are ships much more capable out there. For exploration, like I said, some of the best are either something like the Anaconda or the Asp Explorer. I do need to check a couple of others, but you could potentially use it, but I wouldn't really advise it, and it is quite an expensive ship for that purpose. So I think the next thing to do is to look at the trading side of things and see how that's changed in the Type 10. So the next build I just wanted to cover is the trade build. This gives you an idea how much difference than a Type 9 the ship is. So here I've not put any hard points, and that is entirely up to you. I just wanted to see what the sort of range of the ship is, and again I haven't mounted any utilities onto the core internals. Now pretty much all this is done for lightweight. The only thing I did have to change is the thrusters, as everything is pretty much more heavier on the ship, and like I said, you do need to have those. This is also a modified build, so like I said, this is with the modification. So you're getting around about just over 26 light years fully laden, with around about just under 35 light years unladen. All this is lightweight stuff, so you could potentially change this, but this is going to drop your jump range down. Like I said, you may want it to be armed. Onto the optional. Now basically I filled most of the internal points with cargo racks. The only thing I definitely would advise with things is to put a shield in. You could go for a class 6 or higher, it's really entirely up to you. So after all that, you get around about 438 tons of space, I believe, which is about the same as the Type 9. You could actually swap the docking computer for extra space. These two utility mounts, you have to put military stuff in those. You can't use them for extra cargo. So all in all, it roughly works out to about the same amount of cargo as a Type 9. The only difference is you have a few more hard points, but the ship is more expensive. So overall, I don't think it's a great thing for necessarily trading. If I do change the jump drive to standard one, you can give an idea roughly what you get. So the minimum range is just under 18 light years. with around about 23.7 light years with no cargo. So it does give you quite a good range and a bit more than the Type 9, I believe. So the ship is a bit more capable on long range. However, the ship is more expensive, and for the price difference you're probably better off saving the extra money up and going for something like an Anaconda if you're looking for a trade kind of build for the ship. But I just wanted to show you and give you an idea what to expect, because the Type 9 is a known trade ship. Okay, so we've looked at the internals. Now it's time to look at the external of the ship. So as you can see here, it looks pretty similar to a Type 9. It does have a few extensions on the side to make it look a bit more kind of bulkier, I suppose, or a bit heavier. It does have a spoiler on the back, which I don't see serves any purpose other than cosmetically. Maybe I'm wrong on that and it helps it go planet landing or something, but entirely I don't think the spoiler does that much. I do actually like the look of it though. On the back of the ship we have 4 sets of engines, so that is quite a lot, and you can see there is the hatch right on the back of the ship. So this is quite a large ship, and like I said, when you use it to go through the hull you're going to have to watch pretty much and get it twisted right. Another consideration is where the cockpit is, so that gives you an idea of roughly where the ship has to be through the actual station door. So if I just go on the front and show you, you can see the cockpit is fairly low in the ship, so you can see there it is down the bottom. So I think the next thing to do is to take this ship out for a spin and see what it does.
Detachment complete. Moderate speed on exit.
Oops, that's one thing I did say, you got to watch how you get out of the station. So now I'm just checking out the speed of the ship. So unfortunately I boosted through the actual station doors, so it looks like we've got a sort of top speed of 190. So like I said, now with a boost we're pushing that up to 231. I did actually change the thrusters to class 7A and they aren't modified, so that should give you an idea. As all the other videos I've showed you like rotation speed with unmodified thrusters, and if I start modifying and showing different turn speeds it's going to be a bit confusing if you're using it as a comparison. Obviously that comparison is just a loose one to give you a sort of idea what to expect. So anyway, I think the next thing to do is actually to check out the turn speed. Like I said, the thrusters here, like you said, you get 7A, just to prove they aren't modified. So the next thing to do is to line up to the station and to check out the turn-in speed of this ship. So I'm not expecting the turn-in of this ship to be particularly great. For this, what I'm going to do is to put it in the best case scenario. So we have 4 pips into the engines, and we're also in the blue section. So this should give you the best case scenario. So anyway, let's try to see how quick it turns. So this looks round about 16 seconds for a full turn, which is pretty slow, but as it's kind of a Type 9 Type 10 ship, I wasn't expecting it to be particularly that great. So anyway, the other big thing of the Type 10 is its armament is much more upgraded over the Type 9. So I think that's worth checking out in the next section, and to actually work out where all the guns are and how they are positioned. So as you can see, we've got quite a few hardpoints here, and they're actually not too far away from each other. You can see there is quite a few packed down the bottom. I will go through and show you where all the hardpoints are and how they fire. So the first thing I want to do is to show you where the 4 class 3s are, or the large hardpoints. At the moment, like I said, I've fitted beam lasers in them. So you can see this is where the large hardpoints are. They're not in too bad of positions, to be honest, and like I said, they should mean you can get a decent coverage with all of them. As you can see, they fire and do kind of cross all right. So the next set of guns that I want to show you are the Class 2s. These are a little bit further out, I believe. So if we just remove the large hardpoints and show you where the medium ones are. So you can see here there's just 2 to the left and right and 1 underneath. So again, they're not in too bad a position. And finally, the last one I want to show you is the Class 1 slots. The Class 1 weapons tend to not be that useful for me. Maybe they're more useful to you. But anyway, we have 2 of those, and those are on the underside of the ship, as you can see here. So now you kind of know how they all fire. The next thing I want to show is where they are on the ship. I find it quite important to know, as sometimes it's quite difficult to tell where they are through like the outfitting section, and sometimes it can make a difference to what you fit in those points. So anyway, the first ones to look at are the large hardpoints. So the first set of large hardpoints are on the top, as you can just about see. They're very far apart. So the next one I want to show you are the underside ones. So here is the 2 underside large hardpoints. So you can see they're in a pretty good position, although they're just quite far apart. Next onto our medium hardpoints. So the first 2 medium hardpoints are on the top, as you can just about see. They are a little bit on the inside of the large hardpoints. There is another one on the underside, which I'll just show you now. And the last medium hardpoint is on the underside in about the middle of the ship, as you can just about see now. So those have got quite good coverage. The next lot to show you is the small hardpoints. So the final 2 small hardpoints are actually to the left and right of the cockpit, as you can just about see here. So these have got a very good position for them. However, they're only small hardpoints, so you can only fit sort of relatively weak weapons there, which is a little bit unfortunate. But anyway, hopefully that's explained where all the hardpoints are and where they are on the ship. Sometimes it is very confusing to know where they are. So all in all, to me, the Type 10 is a bit of a confusing ship. For exploration, it doesn't really offer anything much more. You're going to get 35 light years on it, but that's not that great compared to some of the other ships out there. If you save a bit more money up and get something like an Anaconda, you can get up to easy 60 light year range. Even equally something like the Asp Explorer, where you can get around about 50 light years. For trading, then it doesn't really offer much more than a Type 9. I suppose you do have a few extra hard points, you do have some more armour, and you do have a little bit more jump range, which may be useful if you're doing long distance trips. But once again, I would advise at that point saving a bit more money up and going for something like the Anaconda. The Anaconda is going to give you a lot more choice of what you can do. However, the main focus for this ship is its capability of taking a lot of damage and to take on the Fargan ships. For this, I have been watching quite a few videos posted by Acidian Ant, and he kind of suggests that the Anaconda is a better ship in that role, again because it's capable of running away when the Fargans go in different stages, whereas the Type 10 can't run away and ends up suffering from more damage. Whilst it can take a lot more, it seems to have to do it. Anyway, for me, I don't think I'm going to be using the Type 10 personally. Maybe you have a certain role for it. Maybe you've had much more success with the Fargans with it. I don't seem to have a lot of success with them at the moment. I will be trying to do a bit more with those, and like I said, maybe things might change in the future. As always, if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them below. Another thing that does help me, if you haven't already done so, is to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Both of those help me out massively. Anyway guys, I think that's it for the time being. Take care and have fun out there.